I'm going to show you how to make a classic egg custard tart. It's one of my absolute favourites, something I had a lot when I was little. We'd go to the village bakery, and if I'd been good, I'd be treated to a little tart, and it's something that I still love today. So I'm going to show you how to make the pastry first. So we add our plain flour to a bowl, along with our unsalted butter. And then we're just going to rub the two together until we've got a nice breadcrumb mixture. So once we've got our breadcrumb mix, we can add in our sugar and just stir that through with our hands. Once that's nicely combined, just add in 1 egg. And then just use a fork just to bring the mix together. Then once it's started to come together, we're going to get our hands in there and form it into a nice pastry. Just lightly kneading it together until it comes together into one uniform dough. Turn it out onto the surface and just knead it together until everything is uniform and you've got a nice smooth dough. You'll then wrap that in clingfilm and then put that in the fridge for about an hour until it's nice and firm and easier to roll. So once our pastry's had enough time in the fridge to chill, we can roll it out. So just take a little bit of flour and dust the work surface, and then unwrap the pastry, just a little bit of flour, and then what we want to do is just roll it back and forth, and then every now and again just turn it, and that way your pastry's more likely to stay in a round, but it's also less likely to stick as well. So when the pastry is just slightly bigger than our tart tin, we can line the tin with it, so it's just slightly greased, and then what we're going to do is roll our pastry onto the rolling pin. Again, just gently like that, and move that tart in, and then just very carefully, gently drape it over the tin, and then don't press it in, you just need to gently lift the excess off and drape it in, and that way your pastry shouldn't shrink, and then you get a nice tart shell. So once that's lined, you need to put that in the fridge for about half an hour until the pastry is really nice and firm, and that way it's another way of preventing it from shrinking. So now our tart has had enough time to chill and the pastry is nice and firm, we can blind bake that. So you need to take a piece of parchment paper and scrunch it up so that when we put it into the tart, it sits in a lot easier. So just line it in, pressing it into the corners, and then either using baking beans or even simpler just rice, fill the tart, and then press that so it hits all the corners so that it sits flush, and so we get a really nice thin pastry and it doesn't puff up at all. So that can go into our preheated oven at 180 degrees for about 20 minutes. So for the custard filling, we've got some egg yolks, some caster sugar, some cream, milk, and a little bit of vanilla extract. So the first thing we need to do is put our cream, it's just single cream, into our bowl, along with our milk, and then just a little bit of vanilla extract just to boost the flavour a little bit. We put that on the heat and bring that to a simmer, and then whilst that's doing, we can take our caster sugar, add that to our egg yolks, and then make sure you whisk that together straight away. You don't want to leave that together because your eggs will go clumpy and not very nice. So when the creams come to a simmer, we can pour that into our eggs, whisking constantly so they don't scramble. So pour about half of it in, and then whisk it through. Then pour in the rest, and whisk that till it's combined. And that's our custard ready. We just need to wait for the tart to finish blind baking. So when the tart's been in the oven for about 20 minutes, we just need to remove the beans and then put it back in the oven just to crisp up a little bit more. Just carefully lift out your rising baking beans, and then you just want to brown this a little bit more to create a nice seal. Put that back in the oven. So when our pastry's been blind baked, because we're going to add a really liquid filling to it, we're going to take an extra step just to seal it completely. So we take an egg yolk, we're going to brush it all over the inside of the tart. And what that does is it creates a watertight seal, and it just means we're not going to get any soggy bottoms. We get a nice sealed pastry and a crisp base. So once we've brushed the entire inside of the tart, we're going to pop that back in the oven for about 45 minutes, just until that's dried out and the tart's fully sealed. We've turned the oven down to 130 degrees, so we don't overbake the filling, and then just very carefully pour in the filling. And the reason we do this in the oven is because it goes right to the top, and we don't want to spill any of it. And then very, very carefully, trying not to burn yourself, we're going to grate over lots and lots of nutmeg. So once that's in there like that, very carefully push that back in the oven. And that's going to bake for about 30 to 40 minutes until the tart still has a little jiggle in it. So when the tart's out of the oven, we have some excess pastry over the overhangs. We just need to trim that off so we can have a really nice presented tart. So take a serrated knife and just gently saw on the edge of the pastry, just taking off that excess. So to take the tart out of the tin, you just need to put it on something small and sturdy like a jar or a ramekin, and the sides will just fall off. So that's how you make my classic egg custard tart. Simple and delicious.